I'm with Pankaj Saran, formerly of the Indian Foreign Service. He was former Deputy National Security Advisor, a former ambassador to the Russian Federation, a former High Commissioner to Bangladesh from 2012 to 2015. But Ambassador Saran has been in Bangladesh earlier as well as a younger diplomat in the late 1980s. This is Indian Standard Time, a brand new show from the stables of the Tribune. I'm Jyoti Malhotra, and today we are going to discuss the most interesting story of the day, which is Prime Minister's meeting with the Bangladesh Chief Advisor, Muhammed Yunus. And who better to talk about this and its implications than Ambassador Pankaj Saran. Ambassador, welcome to the Tribune.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So today's story, Ambassador Saran, is about Prime Minister Modi's visit to BIMSTEC in Thailand, in Bangkok, where he has met Bangladesh's Chief Advisor, Muhammed Yunus. This is the first time that the two principals have met since the uprising, if we might want to call it, the Takhta Palat, shall we say, in Bangladesh in August, which led to former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fleeing her home country. She is in India right now. But your first comments on the meeting between the Prime Minister and Muhammed Yunus.
Thank you, Jyoti. I think it's a good development. I think it's a welcome development. I think it's always important for neighbors to remain engaged with each other. So I personally welcome the meeting, and I think the Bangladeshis should be happy that this meeting has taken place. And so it's a good development, should be welcomed.
Now, the Ministry of External Affairs has issued quite a long statement, and I will go into that in a minute or so. But, Muhammed Yunus, the Bangladesh chief advisor, he's sort of an interim sort of a figure because elections haven't taken place in Bangladesh, which the opposition has been, well, all the political parties in Bangladesh have been demanding an election. But what is interesting is that he was in China only a few days ago, Ambassador, and he made these very odd statements where he said that the seven sisters of India, India's eastern or northeastern states, do not have an access to the sea. And then he said to the Chinese President Xi Jinping that we want you to come to the Bay of Bengal and establish your presence there, expand your presence there. What do you think about what he said?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it odd? I mean, quite a remarkable thing to say. Look, I attribute it to either a lack of understanding or political naivety,
That's
or
generous of you, Ambassador.
or someone who's learning on the job. Because, I mean, I'm trying to be generous, but if he acknowledges the fact that these states are landlocked, then I would assume that it follows that Bangladesh would have in the future absolutely no hesitation. And if the welfare of the states is at his heart, and he feels for the welfare of these states, then in the future he should have absolutely no difficulty in providing transit facilities for India to its northeastern states. So I would take away from what he's saying that we should assume that Bangladesh will be very willing and happy to offer transit facilities if that is his perception of the Northeast. On the second part of his statement about the Bay of Bengal and so on.
Guardian of the sea, he said. Bangladesh is the guardian of the sea.
It's strange. Bangladesh's coastline is like 700 kilometers. India's eastern seaboard is something like 6,000 kilometers. We have 7 major ports on the eastern flank, on the eastern seaboard. So I don't know what exactly he means by saying he's the guardian of the Bay of Bengal. I mean, is he trying to weaponize his location? I mean, I think Bangladesh should be more worried about the fact that as of today, they have a volatile border with Myanmar, which is lawless. They are hemmed in by India on all sides. They need to get their act together in terms of the relationship with India. China is very far away. I mean, China is not going to come in any way to help Bangladesh. And, this business of China being the savior of Bangladesh, we've seen this playbook in the past, which has been played by every leader of Bangladesh, starting from, let us say, Zia Rahman to Ershad to Khalida Zia, and not the least by Sheikh Hasina herself. So, in that sense, I think Professor Yunus is simply repeating the playbook of previous Bangladeshi leaders. So, I don't think there's really any need to get excited about what he said, because geography is something which no one can wish away. So if it makes him satisfied or feel happy about what he has said, if he thinks he's riling up India, I'm not quite sure where he's going with this. But the
But is he?
realities
Yeah, is he
speak
riling?
for themselves.
Is he riling up India, Ambassador Saran? You talked about how geography is so important to, especially India's, between India and its neighborhood, and none more so than Bangladesh. But geography is also cushioned by history in a sense, isn't it? I mean, we're talking about the 1971 war between India and Pakistan, which created Bangladesh. And I don't want to get into how India was this prime sort of mover and shaker of that operation. But in today's Bangladesh, why is Professor Yunus saying the things he's saying? Is he baiting India? What is he trying to do?
It's difficult to fathom. I mean, considering that, what he said was on the eve of the BIMSTEC summit,
Right.
on the eve of a possible meeting with the Indian Prime Minister. And also, I'm sure he knows, and his people, I hope he knows, that the India-China relationship is poised at a very, very interesting juncture. And we are actually on the verge of, moving beyond the thaw in the relationship. So, this strategy of playing China against India, of trying to leverage or hedge or seek geopolitical rent from this relationship will take it only that far. But that's all for dialogue and debate. What is actually more important is the reality, and the
Right.
reality is staring us and the Bangladeshis in the face.
Hmm.
They have nowhere to go. We have nowhere to go. Our Northeast, West Bengal, other states, we are all here together. China is far away. China can do nothing for the region or for Bangladesh. Um, and if he really cares for the Northeast, for his own country, the most logical step to take and the most rational step is to move forward and continue the partnership with India, because that is what is going to, at the ultimate analysis, help the region and including Bangladesh itself. So, trying to look beyond is not going to get much value for the job at hand. But that's all one can
Absolutely.
say.
Absolutely, especially since he's not, either the prime minister or the president. He's really a temporary figurehead, which brings me to my next question, which is to talk a little bit about what's happening inside Bangladesh, Ambassador. And the question is that, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled. We saw what happened at that time on the 5th of August. And prior to that, there was a students' movement, shall we say, or an uprising against Sheikh Hasina. But since then, in these last 6 months or so, so much has happened. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's house in the heart of Dhaka in Dhanmondi has been burnt down. I mean, which is an odd thing, isn't it? Because if he was called the Bangabandhu, the father of the nation, why did the people of Bangladesh burn down his house?
I think we are at a stage in Bangladesh where it seems to me all bets are off.
Mhm.
There is a huge kind of, let's say, a pushback against the Hasina
Right.
period, the Hasina government. And so everything is happening at the same time. It is almost like the bursting of a volcano. And so everyone is, you know, expressing views ferociously, wildly. Um, and it's maybe, as someone said the other day, it's a period of catharsis for Bangladesh. It's a churning. But the thing is, again, if you look at the history of the country, this is a country that has witnessed assassinations, coups, natural disasters. There's nothing which they haven't experienced in the last 50 years. And every time there has been a transfer of power,
Yeah.
it has been a convulsion. It has rarely been peaceful, and it has rarely been the case that the person who was in power has willingly forfeited that power. And so we've seen dictators, we've seen some Democrats. So that's been the history. So I think at this occasion, it's like maybe the unlocking of a spring very tightly, um, and it's all coming out. Now, if all of this is going to lead to some kind of a churning and a cleansing of their own identity, their history, their culture, maybe it's all for the good, for the future of the country. But yes, any society which disowns or distorts its own history or is not a healthy society. I mean, you have to, beyond a point, you cannot be an orphan of history. You have to accept that there was a history that is common to not just the current generation, but previous generations. And so from that point of view, I just hope that for their own sake, they don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, that would be tragic. And so some of the signs and some of the scenes we witnessed, including the one you mentioned,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, it's their life, it's their country, it's their society. I mean, if today they say, what was white is not white, is black, and vice versa, what do we do? I mean, all that we can wait is to wait, watch for them to come to. I mean, the point is, if there is transfer of political power, which is a normal process in any nation's life, why should it always really the issue? And I think the issue is more fundamental, whether after 50 years, Bangladesh has been able to sort of develop a set of institutions and political, let's say, procedures and processes which enable different political views, different political formations to come to office and then to leave office. And then we see more smooth political
Transfers of
process.
power.
We are
Yeah.
not there yet. This is what, yeah, we are not there yet.
So, but of course, we talk about history and coming to terms with history, right? And which is, but it's still odd that somebody who is the father of the nation. It's not like he was Sheikh Hasina's father, of course. But then, when the new country was created or built in 1972, he was the father of all of Bangladesh, not just of the Awami League or of the BNP or of other political parties. But my question to you is that the Jamaat-e-Islami and a large section of the Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh, which is the right-wing radical Islamist party, had in connivance with the Pakistani authorities at the time in 1971 and before 1971 come together to prevent the flowering of democracy. Now, do you think that the Jamaat-e-Islami is back and and that they want to impose this radical Islamic agenda back in Bangladesh?
The Jamaat and its other Islamic parties definitely have a much larger sway today in Bangladesh after the 5th of August. That is a result of a political vacuum. And there is some logic to it. I mean, they are cadre-based, well organized. They were also extremely well organized during the Hasina period. They were always considered to have grassroots support. It was no secret. There's a vast network of religious institutions, madrasas, everything else. So they always existed. Now, with the political vacuum has been created, and to the extent that they have political ambitions, it is logical for them to press on the accelerator and try to take as much advantage as possible of this vacuum. The question, of course, is all of these issues and to what extent and to how far they will take the country and the society towards Islamic fundamentalism, if you can use that word, is something which can only be determined through a process, let's say, of election. Otherwise, it is their word against anyone else's word. And whatever little I know of the country, there is a huge plurality of views within Bangladesh. There are different kinds of voices, opinions, people. It's not homogeneous at all in that sense. So whether the reformers, if you can use that word, are willing to enable all political voices and forces to express themselves, and if they think this is the golden chance for Bangladesh to do so, then it is incumbent on them to create the conditions in which every political voice and force has an equal opportunity to go to the people, get a verdict, and in a sense, call a spade a spade. I mean, and say, look, this is where we all stand in terms of popular support. But no one can usurp the opinions of the people of Bangladesh. I mean, just as in India, I mean, we would all like our own political parties to
Right.
contest with each other, and so let the people decide.
So, two questions from that, Ambassador. The first is that is there a Pakistan connection? Do you think that the Jamaat is getting help from the ISI or from Pakistan, which is what is sort of widely rumored?
Yeah, I think there is a, I think the Pakistanis are there. I mean, no one has denied that there was an ISI delegation which visited Bangladesh. So yes, I think it would be fair to assume that there is a Pakistani connection. I mean, the connection is basically in the context of a pan-Islamic kind of ummah we are first Muslims and thereafter we have our own regional and linguistic identities. So that section of people who think like this is definitely there and it exists in Bangladesh. Now, the ISI is known to fish in troubled waters. They've had a excellent track record of doing so in Bangladesh in the past, using it as a springboard against India to basically destabilize the Northeast. And they almost succeeded for many years. So
Mhm.
we should assume that they will try the same thing again, and we should be prepared to nip it in the bud, to deter, and to ensure that history does not repeat itself, and to also talk to the Bangladeshis and say, look, this is a new era. Let's not, you know, go back in time to allow these games to be played against each other. And this will require wisdom and some kind of a, let's say, concurrence between their elites and our people and our elites on how we want to live together as two nations. Uh, Having said that, I mean, the fact of the matter is that the ISI and the Pakistanis will try very hard to again, as I said, exploit this vacuum which has been created, and I would say a general lack of authority of governance which we are going through inside Bangladesh, which is acknowledged by the Bangladeshis themselves.
Right. Now, the question is about elections, and you referred to that earlier, whether they take place this year or next year. The question is that the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Khaleda Zia, who doesn't keep too well, one of her sons is in Tariq Rahman. He lives in London. There's been, reports in the Bangladeshi media that he wants to come back. His reputation is not, shall we say, very it's not very pleasing. There's been a lot of rumors about the fact that he uses undemocratic ways, shall we say, within quotes, to he likes to, in the way he wants to get things done. What do you think? I mean, I'm not asking you to look into a crystal ball, or perhaps I am. In the next few months, how do you think this will play out with the BNP, with Muhammad Yunus, and with a weakened Awami League?
Look, I mean, the BNP is at the, let's say, the most consequential political party in Bangladesh. They have had a history going back many years, which tells us that basically they were born in the cantonment. It was the King's Party created by General Zia Rahman, which after his assassination was taken over by his wife, Begum Khalida Zia. And her son, Tariq, has made no secret of the fact that he has as great political ambitions as his mother and his father. And he has been living in London for the last 17 or 18 years, engaged very much in political activity inside Bangladesh, sitting from London, from the United Kingdom. So they are a significant political force, weakened, of course, by the relative, let's say, ill health of Begum Khalida Zia and the physical absence of her son. But
Right.
nevertheless, there is a whole structure out there. The parties, these established old guard political parties, obviously feel that they have the right, and it is their it is their turn now to participate in an election and contest. So they will be pressing hard for early elections
Mhm.
because that's the job of any political party. So if you see the BNP, you see the Jamaat, you see a few other political parties. For them, the main priority is to have an early election,
Mm.
and they want to test the waters. And I think all of them believe that they have a great chance of winning the election and coming to power. So the question is how much of this time issue is agreeable between the Yunus interim administration and the political parties. The Yunus administration is talking about reform before election.
Right.
The question is how much reform, whereas the political parties are in a hurry. They want to go straight for election, and they fancy their chances. So that's where we are today. But I think it would be good for everyone if there is stability by having the election, having a constitution, and then, get on with the business of governing the country.
Right. Now, you said that Tariq Rahman, Khalida Zia's son, has been living in London for the last 17 to 18 years. My question is why? If he's so interested in politics, why doesn't he come home? And the second is, related to that, is that Sheikh Hasina has, when she fled Bangladesh and she came to India, India has given her refuge. She lives in Delhi or perhaps in another town. Now, there's been a lot of criticism abroad, Ambassador, about India giving Sheikh Hasina refuge. The question is, do you think this criticism is valid? Do you think India should give back Sheikh Hasina to Bangladesh, because there's been some demands on that?
Well, I mean, look, the United Kingdom has been giving refuge to Tariq Rahman for the last 17, 18 years, right? I mean, everyone knows it. It's common knowledge, and people have come to terms with it. They live with it, and it's accepted. Now, why he didn't come back is something which I really don't know. I mean, obviously, there were cases against him which were,
Right.
put by the Awami League and so on and so forth, but he also has a relationship with their army, a past history. But the fact is, he never felt safe to come back. Now, uh, what he decides in the next few months is something we have to watch, and I don't want to get into that scenario.
Sure.
Um, on the Hasina in India, you answered the question. I mean, if there is a tradition of Bangladeshi leaders
Mm.
living overseas, uh, to ensure the security of their physical well-being. Hasina is by far not the first such leader. There is a litany of cases where Bangladeshi political and other leaders have left the country and are living outside of Bangladesh for years,
Right.
just for the sake of ensuring their physical safety. So if Hasina is doing the same, then we should judge this event against this other bigger and broader yardstick of how the leaders have gone on. And frankly, I mean, if you look at on the Western side, I mean, look at Pakistan. I mean, it's a revolving door between Islamabad, Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, right? I mean, one stays and then the other goes and then he comes back, and the Musharrafs and the Sharifs and all. It's a revolving door policy. So it's not as if these things are not happened. I mean, we shouldn't, pretend as if something really extraordinary has happened. And so insofar as, her return back, etc., I think that it's going to be legal. There will be extradition. There is an extradition request. India will respond. This will go on. I mean, we ourselves, have so many extradition cases against Indians living in the West, which are still not resolved. So, and they've gone on for years.
No, but absolutely,
So this is how it is.
Yeah, like you said, Tariq Rahman has been living in the UK for 17 years, but there's not been a murmur about that. I mean, if things were so sort of, if things were fine, if democracy was in action, and frankly, under Sheikh Hasina's regime compared to what there is now, there was far more democracy, but Tariq Rahman still refused to return. But I want to ask you the last question, and to tie it all back with Prime Minister Modi now having met the chief advisor of Bangladesh, Muhammed Yunus. The question is whether, Yunus understands much more about the lay of the land. He's just met Xi Jinping. And do you think that he understands as well that the Pakistanis are playing this game inside Bangladesh, where they want to expand their influence? The ISI wants to expand its influence like it did prior to 1971. And what would you advise him to do?
I'm the last person to advise, but I would just say that I think it's good that the two leaders met, Prime Minister Modi and Professor Yunus. It's interesting, the two readouts are quite different from each other. The Bangladeshis have described the meeting as being very constructive and productive. I mean, they've talked about the fact that they raised the issue of Sheikh Hasina, the Ganges water, the Teesta sharing, border killings. So, I mean, they have listed all these issues, and with the exception of the first one, all the other issues have been almost regular talking points between India and Bangladesh for the last many, many years.
Right.
These are outstanding issues. The Indian readout is also very interesting, very carefully worded.
Yes.
I think what I take away from what the Indians have said is that they've emphasized a few things, and there are some nice catchwords, nice diplomaties, which merit attention. I think one of the words they've used is, we have pursued a people-centric policy. Now, this is obviously to respond to criticism in Bangladesh that we put all our eggs in one basket, that we were not dealing with the people of Bangladesh. So the Indian statement says, we have pursued a people-centric policy and will continue to do that. The second is that the Indians said there have been tangible benefits from the relationship to both people. I think here again, it's important that they speak to the Bangladeshi society and the country as a whole to say that the relationship has had tangible benefits. Do not dismiss whatever achievements have been made possible as saying that they were of no consequence. I also like the use of the word pragmatic in the description of the relationship. We should be pragmatic in terms of the relationship. I think we also said that it's best to avoid rhetoric, which contributes to vitiating the atmosphere. And I think by rhetoric, the Indian side probably meant not the Bangladeshi media, but Bangladeshi officials who have been making all kinds of statements.
Right. I think there's this sentence which says that the Prime Minister reiterated India's support for a democratic, stable, peaceful, progressive, and inclusive Bangladesh. And that's what I'd like to ask you. Why is there this emphasis on an inclusive Bangladesh? Isn't that obvious?
Yeah, sometimes the obvious has to be stated. I mean, inclusivity, it depends on the eye of the beholder. What do you mean by inclusivity? I mean, for us, inclusive would be that every citizen of Bangladesh, regardless of race, religion, creed, as in India, has a chance to participate.
Right.
And since this is a revolutionary moment in Bangladesh, it would be fitting that we have this kind of a process where everyone participates in the election, regardless of his political orientation or regardless of his religious belief. I think that's the important point. And
you're talking about the Hindu minority or the large Hindu minority. Is that what you're referring to? And is that what the Indians are concerned about, that Hindus are not being treated as equals?
Yeah, I mean, he did raise the issue of Hindus. That's what the Indian statement has said. They confirmed that he raised the question of the treatment of Hindu minorities, which he said was a matter of concern for India, and he hoped that the Bangladeshi government would address that issue and address the allegations that are being made. So yes, Hindus is one, but there are others. I mean, there are other minorities living in Bangladesh,
Yeah,
including the tribals, etc.
sure.
So this is how it is. What I also found interesting was the reference to regional integration. I think that's very important
Yeah.
when you talk about India and Bangladesh. And I think there was also a statement made about the need to enforce the rule of law along the border and to ensure that there is no illegal activity or illegal border crossings so that we maintain the sanctity of the border. I think that's also very important from a immediate security point of view.
Right. Ambassador Pankaj Saran, thank you so much for your time. Lots of takeaways from this very important meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the Chief Advisor of Bangladesh, Muhammed Yunus. But thank you for your analysis and understanding of this very complex relationship. I'm Jyoti Malhotra. This is Indian Standard Time, and I was speaking to Ambassador Pankaj Saran in Delhi. Thank you again, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Jyoti. Thank you.